Good morning, true crime friends. How you doing? Listen, we need to talk Jimmy Waffles. Dr. James Craig, deadly dentist, Dr. James Craig, who was currently on trial for the unfortunate unaliving for his very sweet wife, Angela Craig, who's no longer on this mortal coil. We're going to get into what happened on trial day 6. Look, the other woman, Karen Kaine, took the stand. We're going to talk about it. But first, you know what you need to do. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share out this madness that I call a YouTube channel. Me and you, we're going to get to 30,000 subscribers together. And I need to insert here like a tiny factoid. Listen, you're not here for facts. F-A-C-T-S, that's not what we do here on Gossip, Rumor, and Innuendo. You're here for facts, F-A-X, stuff I heard. But look, if you want to know all the facts of this case, some very fine YouTubers are covering this case. Hidden True Crime. Good morning, Lauren and Dr. Matthias. Lauren from Hidden True Crime is covering this case. Also, so is Lawyer Lee. Good morning, Lawyer Lee. Okay, so look. Trial day 6. What happened was, like, first a bunch of doctors took the stand. A poison expert got up there and was like, she been poisoned. This is terrible. And then the defense got up and cross-examined the poison expert and was like, hey, listen, you don't know how much poison it takes to unfortunately unalive somebody, right? And they were like, no, because who's doing that study? Hi, please join our study and see how much poison it takes to take you off this mortal coil. That's not a thing. And the defense was like, right, so you don't know if she had like 3 drops or 3 bottles because there's no study, right? And the poison expert was like, yeah, it was a whole lot of Visine in her system, not in her eyes, in her belly and in her blood. And the defense was like, okay, so we're going to sit down now. And I was like, defense, what are y'all, okay, listen, don't go by me. I'm just a town gossip. Anyway, and the other doctors got up and they said things like, she looks terrible. We think she's not going to make it. It was very, very sad. And then Dr. Karen Kaine took the stand. Now look, Dr. Karen Kaine has been referred to as James Craig's Jimmy Waffles. This is part 4. If you don't know the Jimmy Waffles reference, please watch parts 1 through 3. Okay, so Jimmy Waffles met Dr. Karen Kaine, a mild-mannered orthodontist, when he was at a conference in Las Vegas, right? Karen Kaine likes to make people's smiles really, really good. I think orthodontists must be rich because orthodontia is real expensive. See, also, I got 3 kids who have braces. Anyway, so Dr. Karen Kaine is from Texas, down there giving all the little Texan children beautiful, bright smiles. And she was recently divorced after 27 years of marriage. That's a real long time to be married. That had to be a tough divorce, right? And so she was just like, I just met Jimmy Waffles at a conference. I think she called him JT. Okay, for James Tolliver. Turns out her daddy's first name is James, and she's like, oh, I can't be, diddling your kibbles and bits and calling you my daddy's name, so I'm just going to call you JT. So she was like, I met JT at a conference. We were just standing in line, and he tapped me on the shoulder and was like, excuse me, do we need a jacket for this or not? And she's like, I don't know. I'm just here for the free food and, information about beautiful smiles. And he was like, oh, okay. And then they struck up a conversation. And I was like, oh, don't talk to strangers. Anyway, so she was just like, so we hit it off and we connected and we just started talking. And then later, as the evening went on, I invited him to my room. Girl, for real? That's how murder happens, right? I'm not judging you. I'm just saying, don't talk to stranger danger, lady, stranger danger. Anyway, so she's just like, we had lovely conversations. We went to my rooms, but I set limits on how many of my kibbles and bits he could diddle. He could only diddle my kibbles, not my bits. And I was like, okay. I kind of need her to be more specific, because when she says she set limits, what does that mean? Like she would only, or over the clothes stuff? Unclear. And it's none of my business. I'm just nosy. But she was like, after the conference, we stayed in touch. I liked him a real, real lot. He liked me a real, real lot. And it seemed like we just had like this instant click. The click of an unaliver. Okay. He's a charming sociopath. Anyway, so she was like, we just texted lots and lots and lots of texts. And Jimmy would talk to me about his faith. And we talked about the boundaries that we set. And how it was appropriate because he was not fully divorced and I was not fully divorced, and it was all going to be really wonderful. And then he wrote me a 1,000-page letter. Girl, This wasn't a red flag for you. You've known this man like, what, a week, and he's writing you 1,000-page letters? Okay, number one, he got a lot of free time, apparently. Shouldn't he be over there at Miles of Smiles fixing kids' teeth and stuff? Or people's teeth? And shouldn't you be doing other okay, whatever. And she's just like, and then I heard him on the phone, he would pray with his children. And would a man who prays really be an unaliver? Girl, yes. Anyway, so she's just like, I had planned a couple visits to Denver. And so, I was just like, I'm going to go. And I had started telling my girlfriends, like, I think I fell in love. And I hope the girlfriends was clutching all their pearls like, heifer, no. You need to date like several hundred losers before you meet a nice guy, because that's the way the universe works. But she was like, no, obviously the universe has sent me this wonderful, delightful man who could not possibly be an unaliver. And so she was like, so I'm going to go to Denver to visit him. You're not safe. Did you drop a pin, child? You need to drop a pin. He's gonna get you. This is nothing about this sounded safe to me. Spoiler alert, she was safe because she's here on the stand. But anyway, so she was just like, and then one of the trips while I was in Denver, we went to dinner. He would disappear periodically and from time to time, but he told me he would because his wife was sick and in the hospital. She was like dosing herself with Visine and other assorted things, but she was blaming him, and I was feeling real bad for him. And so I came to Denver to help and comfort him and to diddle him a little bit, but only his kibbles, not his bits. And then his wife died. After the wife dies, the cops are like, hello, hey, Dr. Karen, oh, you have beautiful teeth. Listen, can we talk to you for a minute? Can we get your phone? And she's like, yes, of course, because I am very innocent. I did nothing. Please download my phone. Where the cops find 4,000 text messages. These people know each other for 3 weeks. 4,000 text messages. That's a lot of text messages. Please hold. You know I have talked to my throat dry like I am wont to do. Hang on. So Karen's talking to the police, and she's like, JT, AKA Jimmy Waffles, was vulnerable and he was honest. Girl, he a lie and the truth ain't in him. But anyway, she was just like, he was vulnerable, he was honest. And Angie was very distant, and I was very warm to him. Doesn't every married man everywhere who's stepping out on his wife be like, oh, my wife doesn't understand me? I'm so glad you do, girl. But she had not been in the dating pool for like 27 years, possibly longer. Anyway, so she was like, between Jimmy and I, he says he loves me, and he has sent me some sext. What he send you? What? I've seen Jimmy Waffles. He could have kept them pictures. No, sir. No, I don't. And he says he wants to Uchi my coochie, but I'm telling him like, no. We really have to wait. She telling all this to the police. Girl, listen. Signs that you have chosen the wrong man. The police is standing on your front door asking you to download your phone. That is the biggest red flag in the world. But she didn't know. She had been married for 27 years, tucked away in a marriage, away from all this madness that is like the dating world. P.S. I've been tucked away in the dating in marriage since like 2000, 2001, something like that, a long time. You know I ain't come here to math. So I wouldn't know either, but I would recognize this. I feel in my spirit like I would recognize. I don't know. I have no idea. Anyway. So Jimmy was talking about eternal love. Oh, yes, our love is eternal. And she said she did not see any red flags, but she did let him know, what I won't stand for is cheaters. I hate cheaters. That's a no-go territory for me. I won't do it. And Jimmy was like, okay. I have a little confession. Once upon a time, I had one emotional affair and one physical affair. I'm not going to get into it, but what I just want you to know that with you, I can be fully transparent and fully honest, says the habitual liar. Okay. And so Karen was just like, oh, I really appreciate your vulnerability. And one day when he was on the phone, or maybe it was over text, he was like, my wife is very sick, and she is not doing well. She is like taking poisons and stuff herself, but she's saying I'm doing it. I can't stand the fact that she's constantly blaming me. I just want you to know, Karen, I would never drug you. Girl, you didn't. Listen. was young and vulnerable and, dating every loser in the tri-state area, some dudes used some lines on me, right? And some of them were real weak and some of them were okay. None of them ever said, girl, I would never drug you. That's a red flag for your ass. I'm just saying. He was just like, Angie's doing these terrible things to herself and she blames me and I don't know why. It couldn't at all be because you were actually guilty and you were actually doing the things. Okay. And then Jimmy finally says to Karen over text, just say the word and I'm yours. What's the word? Poison, red rum, unfortunate, unaliving, y'all. And then Jimmy wrote a love song, y'all. I wasn't ready. I thought I was ready. I thought I knew what I was getting myself into with this trial. And then the state was like, Your Honor, Karen Kaine, people of the internet, this Mama Luke wrote her a love song, right? The defense was like, objection, we might puke. And I was like, child, we might all puke. You can't. You cannot play this love song. So they had a little sidebar, a little conversation about it, like the efficacy. Is it more prejudicial than probative? Might we all be sick? Are there enough airline sickness bags in the courthouse for us to play this love song? And ultimately, the judge was like, there's not enough airline sickness bags, so we're not going to play the love song. But I think it's just fair for us to know he wrote a love song. He's a psycho. He's a psycho. He's a straight up, okay, anyway, we knew this, but she ain't know. But that love song thing, signs you dating a psycho. Single ladies, if you dating a man and you know him for 3 weeks and he talking about eternal love and he wrote you a love song, run, girl. Also, if he says he would never poison you, that means 100% he would. Anyway, so Jimmy Waffles tells Karen, the Lord told me I needed you. Another red flag. The Lord ain't tell him nothing. Did the Lord tell him to put Visine in his wife's smoothie and cyanide and all this other stuff? Don't be lying on the Lord. Listen, we here at Gossip Rumor and Innuendo, we are a very faith-based podcast. Not like religious faith, but we believe in things. Look, Jesus is busy. There's like wars and sick people. The hospitals are full. We pray to accessible deities. Like Tina Turner. Look, Karen, Dr. Karen, girl, you need Tina Turner worse than anybody I ever heard in my life. You need to pray to Tina right now. Even though this relationship is over, you need to talk to Tina and see if she can help you out. Because this dude, he is bad news. Anyway, so the defense gets up there to cross-examine Miss Karen. Please hold, hang on. Wait, before we talk about the cross-examination, there's one little more detail that you need to hear about in this parade of red flags. As Angela slips the surly bonds of this earth and makes her way off to the endless heaven buffet, Jimmy Waffles is down there sending Karen love texts. Sir, you are a horrible human being. Well, because Dr. Redfern, Jimmy's partner, had told the police and the bishop and everybody else, oh, he bought poison. I don't know what y'all know, but he bought poison. We think he did it. Arrest him right now. The police arrest Jimmy pretty much as soon as Karen passes away. As soon as Angela passes away. And so Karen is like, he told me this might happen. His wife is doing terrible things to herself and blaming him. So obviously the police have arrested him. Girl. That makes him undateable, right? Until his divorce is settled, until his jail situation is settled, undateable. Anyway, so when the police come to her door, Karen defends Jim. She's just like, listen, I understand he gave me a heads up that his wife was doing terrible things to herself and blaming him. So I'm not really surprised by this arrest, but I really think he's a good guy. He's not. And then Karen reads like all the paperwork because she is a doctor. She knows how to research things. She's like, okay, let me see this probable cause affidavit. Oh, yeah, he's a whole scumbag. Thank you, Karen. Look. Tina is still in the prayer answering business. So she's like, oh, no. He's trash. And so she's like, he is writing her letters from jail. What I'm not going to do as a fine orthodontist down in Texas is receive your letters from the jailhouse. Nope, not going to do it. So the letters come and she burns them. Then the police are like, hey girl, hey, have you heard from him? And she's just like, he's been writing me. I burned them letters up. I made a fire. I did like waiting to exhale style and I threw the match over my shoulder. And the police were like, yeah, that's destroying evidence. And she was like, oops. I'm mostly a law-abiding citizen. I had no idea. Okay, so when the letters come, I can just give them to you, right? And they were just like, yeah, give them to us. And she was just like, okay, that sounds like a good plan. Y'all, the letters Jimmy Waffles wrote from jail, they were really, really something. He was just like, I love and I miss you. Sir, you are not in the position. Focus on your charges and on all this other stuff. Don't be trying to focus on how you love and miss me. Oh, he sent her endless love notes from the prison. He ain't got nothing but free time to write love notes, so I guess he could. And he was just like, I want you to know one thing. I did lie about the apartment. I wasn't really living in a separate apartment on my own. It's important to me that you know that. That's the lie you confessing to? Of all the mountain of lies you have told, that's the one. Okay. Okay. Sir, have all the seats in the world. Then the defense team gets up to cross-examine Dr. Karen Kaine. I was like, they better not harm a hair on this precious woman's head. She was minding her business, standing in line in the conference at Las Vegas. And after 3 weeks of knowing this Mama Luke, he has dragged her into an unalive trial. Her and Nancy Joe from that Lori Vallow trial, women who met unalivers, or women who met, like, who found themselves in court on the heels of a date. Y'all. Anyway. So the cross-examine gets up, the defense gets up there to cross-examine her. And they were like, okay, tell us again about your meet cute. And she was like, I told you I was in line, blah, blah, blah. She tells the story again. And they were like, right. Did he oochie your coochie? And she was like, oh, no, we just did over the pants stuff. And she was like, okay, did you know that Jimmy Waffles was using a Google number? And she was like, yes, he had a Google phone number. He had a really good reason. He didn't want, like, his family or whatever to find out, his kids, it was not going to be a good thing. And she acknowledged that this relationship was entirely primarily over the phone. They met in Las Vegas. They were together for a couple of days, and then they just texted each other millions and millions of times. And so she's like, it was a deep and caring relationship, but it primarily took place over the phone. They were only a person for 2 days. Wow. Then the defense says, did you know that while you were saying no to diddling Jimmy's kibbles and bits, while he was in Las Vegas, he hired a prostitute? Y'all, the defense goes on to say, he's a scumbag, girl. I know he's a scumbag. You know he's a scumbag. He is a scumbag. And she was like, yeah. I see. I mean, the murder charges were the first hint, but yeah, she's like, I don't know for sure that he hired a nice a sex worker, but that seemed like something he would do now that I know him better. Then the defense went in. The things they said to this lady, I was like, Jimmy Waffles, I knew you were a scumbag, but this level of scumbaggery is really something special. The defense was like, well, you weren't anything special to him. This was just a fling. You were living in a fantasy. And I was like, oh my God. And they were like, he had no future plans with you. You were a big nothing. Defense. And then they go on to say, like, were you fame hungry? Were you trying to get your 15 minutes off of this fine man? Defense. Y'all are team too much. And the defense was like, this was not love, was it? And she was just like, I disagree. Karen girl, report immediately to the nearest therapist. I am just a gossip, but I can tell. I'm a professional. I can tell you need a whole lot of therapy. That was not love. That was crazy. And then the state gets up and was like, so, did Jimmy Waffles lie to you? And she was like, yes, a whole lot. And then the state said, do you think he also might have lied about Angela trying to unalive herself? Then the defense was like, objection. If she answers that question, my client might go to jail. So no, we can. And so the judge was like, okay, sustained. But that is an excellent point. Then the jury got to ask questions. All the way I love a jury question. The jury wanted to know, hey girl, hey, did he tell you that he was poisoning Ange? And she was like, no. And then after that, she was off the stand. Honey, I could have listened to her all day long. Anyway, Then Jailhouse Snitch number 1 came to the stand. Not to be confused with Jailhouse Snitch number 2. Now, this fine gentleman has a name, but I'm not trying to put his name out here in these true crime streets because he gonna get enough heat about this anyway. So Jailhouse Snitch number 1 he's like, I'm minding my own business, doing my little piece of time down in the county jail. And then I meet Jimmy Waffles, and he's like, hey boy, hey, how you doing? Listen, oh, you can't get bail. That's terrible. You know what I could do for you? I can pay your bail money, and I can fix up your teeth and stuff, but I need you to do me a favor. And the snitch was like what? What kind of favor? You want, the toast off my tray? What can I do for you? I'm in jail. He was just like, I need you to help me. See, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna give you like the security codes to my house, and the camera. I'm gonna tell you where the camera locations are and everything, so you could go in my house and plant some evidence, so that the police won't be looking at me. Jimmy Waffles, your kids still live in that house. Your minor children and your major children, everybody is living in that house. You have now given camera locations and entry codes to a felon to the home where your precious children are. Even if you ain't like your wife, you ain't like your kids either, sir. The level of recklessness to protect yourself. You're a crazy person. And so Jailhouse Snitch number 1 was like, right. Okay, cool. Boop, 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 boop. Hello, police. And told the cops. Yo, that's everything that happened on trial day 6. Now listen. Laura Mathias already has the information on trial day 7 out, but I have not had a chance to watch and let it absorb in my brain so I can break it down for you. So stay tuned. I will be back very soon with trial day 7. In the meantime, y'all stay safe out there. Single ladies, please screen these Mama Lukes a little bit better because, yo, it's a dangerous, dangerous world. You take it easy, and I will see you next crime. Bye.